Metaphysical regionalization on Earth, echo chambers for slaves, and the violations on souls, minds, and hearts performed by Judeo-Christian architectures. This paper explores the metaphysical implications of religious territoriality through the lens of the Latin axiom cuius regio, eius religio. It considers how regional aeters are spiritually colonized by dominant religious paradigms such as Judeo-Christianity, and how these paradigms create echo chambers that limit metaphysical access to their slaves. The essay contrasts this with extraterritorial spiritual forces that operate beyond the constraints of earthly heavens in the West, offering access to invisible spiritual worlds that remain unregistered and unbound by the metaphysical regimes of dominant religions in the West. The metaphysical meaning of cuius regio, eius religio, originally a political doctrine from the Peace of Augsburg, 1555, the phrase cuius regio, eius religio, whose realm, his religion, can be interpreted as metaphysical principle too. In this reading, just as rulers govern the physical realm, so too do religious egregores and spiritual hierarchies and impostors dominate metaphysical regions. These aeters or spiritual zones function as ideological states complete with their own energetic constitutions, ontologies and gatekeepers. Incarnated souls are conscripted, stolen into these zones, subject to their belief systems and psychic architectures. So, echo chambers and the hiring of souls. Within these spiritual zones, certain religious structures, in the West, most notably Judeo-Christian paradigms, function as echo chambers. These are closed metaphysical circuits that amplify only their own doctrinal blind feedback. Agents and souls are metaphysically hired or bound into these systems, serving as transmitters of dogma and propaganda. Self-reinforcing rituals and theological rhetoric protect the system from contradiction or rupture. The metaphysical infrastructure filters spiritual reality, admitting only content that conforms to its lying narrative. This is akin to behavior of egregores, collective psychic entities that feed on attention and belief, seeking self-preservation at all cost and territorial dominance through its agents. The magnetosphere as triregnum or heaven's limit. The planetary magnetosphere may be viewed metaphorically and energetically as the boundary of accessible heavens. You may build anything upon it, any architectures, any illusions, any palaces, whatsoever you please. Within this field, regional metaphysical systems operate in isolation from one another. Only extraterritorial forces, interdimensional intelligences and deities of planetary spheres, luminaries of the sun and the moon, cosmic or stellar intelligences can bypass and penetrate these regional filters on Earth in the solar system. These entities are non-local and trans-etheric. They can access multiple metaphysical regions without allegiance to any, especially not to lying Judeo-Christian religion. They often appear to initiate paradigm-shattering initiations, sacraments of mystical awakenings, for example, Hellenic sacrament, original meaning the laying of the seal by the gods and goddesses upon the mind, heart, and soul and spirit of the initiate. Judeo-Christianity as a regional metaphysics. The Judeo-Christian lying framework, while historically expansive, is ultimately region-bound, especially in the West. It arose in a specific imperial context and retains metaphysical lies that prioritize singularity, one God, who is God, one truth, whose truth, impose dualisms, heaven, hell, saved, damned, simplicity of idiots, deny the legitimacy of alternate, truthful cosmologies, veritable. In regions such as China, such a framework of Judeo-Christian bullshit fails to take metaphysical root. The local spiritual aeters are aligned with fundamentally different logoi, Taoist, Buddhist, Confucian, and indigenous cosmologies which operate independently of Abrahamic bullshit lies. Invisible worlds within Judeo-Christian zones. Despite territorial dominance in the West, even within Judeo-Christian regions, there are countless of myriads of invisible spiritual worlds that don't give a damn about Judeo-Christian monkey lies, folk beliefs, mystic traditions, esoteric lineages, hidden worlds, intelligences, non-codified beings. These worlds often remain unseen or perceived as heretical because they are evading theological surveillance by cloaking themselves from the dominant religious egregore so that Judeo-Christian bullshitters cannot even detect them. Punitive mechanisms against dissident souls and minds to maintain dominance of their bullshit Judeo-Christian lying metaphysical structures employ subtle but aggressive punitive systems against spiritual dissidents, metaphysical nonconformists, and heathen magoi loyal to their gods and goddesses. Psychic reprogramming or brainwashing through repetitive dogma, confessions, ritualized guilt, dissident's cognitive architecture is overwritten, unless he is a heathen that doesn't give a damn. Low-grade magical suppression, use of minor sorceries and thought forms by their priesthoods to cloud perception, limit insight, and cause spiritual fatigue. In other words, to hide any possibility of further development in alternate mysteries. Nervous system attacks, degradation, their agents, the pseudo-angelies of pig-jellies of Judeo-Christianity may attack your nervous system through theological fear induction if you have any fear left, and psychospiritual tension manifests in nervous dysfunction and illness during the attacks. They may also induce madness if you are not subservient to their Judeo-Christian lying shit. Shame, ego, feedback loops, theologically weaponized morality targets the dissident self-worth. Who gives a damn about Judeo-Christian morality if one has a Greek or Roman one, for example? Energetic quarantine, dissident souls and minds are often metaphysically isolated. They are trying to push them into echo chamber of Judeo-Christian scheisselais, limiting contact with other planes or non-approved intelligences that don't give a damn about Judeo-Christian monkey shit belief systems. These mechanisms do not necessarily operate on a conscious level, but are often embedded in the very energetic structure of institutional lying religion. They serve to neutralize the spiritual autonomy of the soul and mind, and enforce conformity to the dominant bullshit paradigm of lying Judeo-Christian pigs. Towards a post-echoic metaphysical framework, to transcend these echo chambers and metaphysical monopolies in the West of the pigs, an approach is necessary. For example, pluriversal rather than the simulation of universalist God of everything bullshit, the Jew God in this sense, cosmically attuned rather than dogmatically confined, attuned to gods and goddesses, hooked up under their traditions, ignoring Judeo-Christian bullshit, hooking up to extraterritorial, trans-territorial, metaphysical beings, deities, goddesses, gods, intelligences, and so on. I hope that is explained. An intelligent person will deduce the rest. Thank you.